I am the only one who knows that my son did not die in a car accident, but escaped because I am hiding the fact that he was wrongfully convicted of a crime he did not commit. I am 58. I live in Kansas City. I work as a mechanic in a railroad shop for 37 years in the same place. I have a wife, Mary, 56. Together since she was a child. We have a son, David, 28. At least, that is what we thought. David died 2 years ago. At least, that is what the police say. Officially, died in a car accident. The car went off a cliff late at night. No witnesses. No records. Just a charred frame and a few bones that DNA tests linked to him. We buried an empty coffin. Mary did not leave the house for 6 months. I worked overtime. Not because I was strong, but because I couldn't think. But here's the thing. He didn't die. He ran away. And I'm the only one who knows. Here's the thing. The year before the crash, David had been convicted of armed robbery. Not guilty, but he was black. In the wrong place. At the wrong time. The witness was a woman who was under the influence. She recognized the man in the black hood. And David was wearing a gray jacket that night. But the video didn't survive. The lawyer was a government lawyer with no experience. The jury was white. The sentence was 12 years. I fought. I filed appeals. I raised money for a new lawyer. But the courts stayed the decision. And David sat there. And then, after a year in prison, he wrote me a letter. Not through a lawyer. Through an old friend who worked in the prison laundry. Dad, I can't stay here. They're beating me. They're blaming me for everything. And if I don't escape, they'll kill me. I'm not guilty. And you know it. And if anything happens, know this. I'm not dead. I escaped. And one day I'll come back. Don't try to look for me. Don't tell Mom. It's the only way to protect her. With love, David. A month later, the report of an accident. The car burned down. The body is unidentifiable, but the DNA matches. I knew it was a fake. Not because he saw it, but because he understood it. David set it up. Someone helped him. He changed the documents, changed the body, and disappeared. And I stayed. And now I have to decide whether to continue to play the game that my son is dead, or to tell the truth and ruin the life of my wife, who has already lost everything. But even harder, whether to help him return, or to leave him on the run forever. I couldn't get that letter out of my head. Not because I was angry, but because I knew that if he was alive, he was suffering somewhere. And I couldn't protect him. And then, 6 months later, I got an envelope. No postmark, just lying in the mailbox. No name, just my address. Inside was a letter. His handwriting. Dad, if you're reading this, they couldn't find me. More. I live in Montana. It's a small town. I don't know anyone. My name is Eric Morris. I work in tractor repair. Nobody asks where I'm from. Nobody looks too long. I can't go back. Not because I'm afraid of prison. Because I'm afraid I'll be convicted again. That no one will believe I'm innocent. That Mom will find out the truth and break down. I thought about you every day. About how Mom cries. About how you go to work like nothing happened. And it hurts me. Not for me. For you. I didn't want you to live a lie. But I couldn't let you live in danger. If they find out I'm alive, they'll find me. And then there's nowhere to run. Don't look for me. Don't try to find a trace. If I can come back, I will. But for now, let me be dead. It's the only way to protect me. I love you. And one day I will return. Even if it ruins everything. Your son, David. I sat on the porch, holding the letter, and I couldn't figure out whether it was an apology, whether it was a request, whether it was a cry for help. The next day I went to work. Not because I had the strength, but because I had a choice. Either destroy myself, or continue living. And that evening, when Mary fell asleep, I went out to the garage. I opened an old chest. Inside were his childhood things. A soccer ball, a school photo, a baseball glove, and under them was a copy of the case file. Everything I had collected. The testimony of a neighbor who had seen another car near the store. A photo from a camera that had been removed due to a technical malfunction. The name of the real criminal. A man with a criminal record who disappeared after David was convicted. I knew how to prove his innocence. But knowledge is not justice. This is the bomb I'm holding in my hands. A week later, I called the lawyer, the same one who had refused to take the case after trial. He now works in New York. He specializes in reviewing wrongful convictions. I know who's innocent, I said, and I know how to prove it. And why are you here now? He asked. Because my son is alive, I said. But he's on the run. and I don't want him on the run forever. And your wife? She thinks he's dead, I said, and I can't tell her the truth. Not now. Not until we have a chance to bring him back. Not as a fugitive, but as an innocent man. That's a risk, he said. If we do, they'll open a case. They'll look into the accident. They might conclude it was a substitution, and then they'll start looking for him. Not to save him, to put him in jail. I know, I said, but he can't live in the shadows forever. And I can't live a lie. A month later, my lawyer and I filed a motion to reconsider. Anonymously. Based on new evidence. No mention of David. No mention of me. And now I'm waiting. Not for the court's answer, but for a choice. Do I tell Mary the truth before she finds out from the others? I couldn't speak. Not because I was afraid, but because I understood the truth would come out not when I decided, but when she found us herself. And she found it. It happened when Mary was cleaning out the garage. I asked her not to touch the old box, but she said, "It's time to throw away the past." And she found the folder. Not hidden, just under the t-shirt that I kept. Inside was a copy of the case. Photos, testimony, even a letter from David that he wrote from prison. She stood in the garage door, holding the folder, not crying, not screaming, just looking at me. "He's alive," she said. Not a question, a statement. "Yes," I said, "and I couldn't tell you." "Why?" "Because he asked me to," I said. "He said, 'Don't tell Mom. It's the only way to protect her.'" "Do you think that's protection?" she asked. "Do you think it's easier for me to miss a dead son than to fight for a living son?" "I thought you break down." "I've already broken down," she said. Every time I looked at his picture, when I heard a song he loved, when I saw one of his friends become a father. But I didn't break down because he died. I broke down because I didn't believe. "You didn't believe?" "No," she said. "Didn't believe in the accident. Didn't believe that he was driving that night. His phone was found within 20 miles of the accident. But no one explained how he got there. And when I asked, they said, 'Don't interfere.' And you didn't say anything?" "What was I supposed to say?" she asked. "My son isn't dead. He ran away." They would have thought I was crazy. Or an accomplice. And then they would have started looking for him. And I didn't want him to be caught again. I couldn't answer. I just stared at her. "You thought you were protecting me," she said. "But you excluded me. From his life. From his fight. And that was the worst thing you could have done." "I'm sorry," I said. "I thought I was doing the right thing." "I know," she said. "But now you have to decide. Whether we continue to live in a lie, or whether we try to bring him back together." A day later she said, "I want us to find him. Not because I want him to return under threat of arrest, but because I want him to return innocent. And if the court convicts him again, then we will continue to fight." She said, "Not as the parents of a dead son, but as the parents of a man who has been unjustly punished." A week later we met with a lawyer together. She sat up straight, not crying, not afraid. "We want a retrial," she said, "and we are prepared for the consequences, even if it means they find out he is alive. Let them know. Let the whole world know. Our son did not run away because he was guilty. He ran away because he was left with no choice." The lawyer nodded. "Then we begin. Officially. With all the evidence. And with you as a family demanding justice." I looked at Mary. She looked at me. And in that moment I realized. I wasn't protecting her. I was shielding her from the truth. And she was stronger than I thought. And now I had to decide. Do we defend David together? Or do we let him run forever? The letter arrived 2 months later. Not by mail. By email from my attorney. Subject, court decision. I opened it that evening. Mary was sitting next to me. We didn't speak. We just stared at the screen. "Dear Mr. Wilson, based on the evidence presented, including the testimony of a neighbor, analysis of surveillance cameras, and new crime scene information, the Kansas City District Court has decided to review criminal case number 1428 KP on the charges of David E. Wilson for armed robbery and unlawful possession of a weapon. The investigation has been reopened. The case has been transferred to the State Department of Justice. All materials will be subject to public inspection in 30 days, unless a motion to restrict access is filed. The next hearing is in 6 weeks. As the father of a convicted felon, you have the right to be present. You can also invite your client to participate in the trial. If he is alive, this is a chance to clear his name." I read it twice, not because I didn't believe it, but because I understood. This is the end of his hiding place. They will reveal everything, I said. The photo, the name, the story. And if they find out he is alive, they will start looking for him. But he is innocent, Mary said. And this is his chance. And if they find him first, if they catch him as a fugitive, he will end up in prison again, before he is acquitted. Then we must find him first, she said, and say, it's time to come back. A day later I wrote a letter, not to the address, but to a Montana newspaper, the one that comes out in a town near Big Timber, where, according to his letter, he lived. Not with a name, not with a hint, just an ad. Dear friend, your tractor, which you fixed last summer, still runs. The owner says, nobody does it like you, and thanks you every time he starts it. Your mother planted your favorite rose bush. It's blooming for the first time this year. Black and red, like your jacket. We heard there's an old case being tried in Kansas City, and maybe there'll be a chance to tell the truth there, not just to the court, and to yourself. If you're reading this, know this. We're not waiting for you as if you were dead. We're waiting for you as if you were a son, and the time has come. With love, Dad. I didn't know if he would see, whether he would understand, whether he would dare, but I knew, if he lived, he would understand, because these were our codes, our memories, our language. 3 weeks later, the lawyer called. They found a witness, he said, a man with a criminal record for robberies. He was outside the store that night. His DNA was found on a glove that was recovered from the crime scene. He refuses to confess, but the investigation is asking for an examination. And David? Nothing yet, he said. But if the examination is confirmed, the court will demand his reinstatement. And if he doesn't show up, they'll put him on the wanted list as a witness for the prosecution, and not as a fugitive. If he shows up before the hearing begins, no, he said. He will have protection, the right to return, and a chance to be vindicated publicly. I hung up the phone. I looked at the photo on the wall. David, 16, holding a ball, smiling, alive. And in that moment I realized he couldn't be dead anymore, even if that was the only thing that protected him. The truth had come out, and now he had to decide whether to come out of the shadows or stay there forever. 6 weeks passed. I couldn't sleep, not because I was angry, but because I was waiting, not for a letter, not for a call, for footsteps at the door. And they rang. It was noon, raining. I was going out to take out the trash, and I saw him, standing under the awning, wet, exhausted, not in a white suit, not with a bouquet. Just here. Dad, he said. I read the ad, and I came. I didn't rush to hug him. I didn't scream. I just looked. In his eyes. The same ones. Like in childhood. Like in a dream. You're alive, I said. Not a question. Fact. Yes, he said. But I don't know if I have the right to be him. Why? Because I disappeared, he said. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. But I left you in a lie. And my mother cried for her dead son. And I was alive. And that was the worst thing I could do. I didn't answer. I just hugged him. Very tightly. Like someone who has finally let go of fear. You had no choice, I said. But now you have. The choice to be alive. And to be innocent. We went in. Mary was home. She saw him. And fell silent. She didn't recognize him. And then, yes. David? She whispered. Yes, Mom, he said. I came back. Not because it's safer. And because I can't be dead anymore. She didn't rush to him. At first, no. She just watched. Then she came over. She ran her hand over his face. Like a mother checking to see if it was really him. You're thin, she said. And tired. Yes, he said. But I'm alive. And I want to be your son. If you still want me to. We never stopped, she said. Even when we thought you were dead. Especially then. A week later we met with a lawyer. David sat up straight. Not hiding. Not afraid. I'm ready to go to trial, he said. Not to escape punishment, but to prove that I'm not a criminal. That I'm a man who was convicted on the basis of race, not on the basis of evidence. DNA testing confirmed. On the glove found near the crime scene. Traces of a man with a criminal record. The same one who had long been suspected, but not stopped. The court reviewed the verdict. Officially, David Wilson is acquitted. At the exit from the courtroom, journalists were waiting for him. How do you feel, having returned from death? They asked. I did not return from death, he said. I returned from injustice. And I am glad to be alive. Not because I saved myself, but because I was able to return to my people. A month later, he became an assistant to a lawyer specializing in reviewing unjust sentences. I do not want anyone else to run away to survive, he said. I want them to be able to fight. And every evening, when we sit on the porch, I look at him and think, he was dead because he had to survive. And now he's alive because he has the right.